Hey people, I'm back. Yeah, I'm driving. But the phone is sitting on the dash. Both hands are on the wheel. I'm paying attention. I'm just talking to the outsider, apparently to myself. But it's dark, so I don't have to worry about too many people thinking I'm crazy. Except maybe the ones that are watching this video. Okay. Today is May 29th or 30th. Hell, I don't know. It's Friday, the end of May. June's next week. Anyways, 2019. From everything I've been watching, looking at, reading up to today at this point in time, right now, I think that bear with me, I think everything is happening according to a script right now. Everything that's happening. Whether it be in the economy, the weather, all the wars that they're telling us about, or the terror, it's all happening according to a script. Somewhere, somehow, there's a playbook that tells us what Act 1, Act 3, Act 4, what should happen. And we're following a pattern. I don't know if it's for a global psychological dominance, it could be one giant mind game that we're all just playing along with unknowingly. We don't even realize we're in it. If you look into what Edward Bernays taught and did and what he knew, Edward Bernays, he wrote a book called Propaganda. Now, this is from the early 20th century, like 1913, 1910, 1919, the turn of the last century. This is before people really had cars and they were driving around. There were still wagons. And people were still riding just bicycles. And going from Columbus to Cincinnati was a big ordeal. That was a multi-day trip. That wasn't something you did in an afternoon. That was you planned a week so that you could go to Cincinnati and do whatever you had to get done and come back. That was a long trip. When your maximum top speed is 25, maybe 30 miles an hour, you don't go all that far. So this book was written clear back at the turn of the century. And Edward Bernays figured out the human psyche well enough that he got the female American populace to smoke cigarettes. Before he came along, it was frowned upon by society for women to smoke. It's almost like today's society, if you thought about a woman using smokeless tobacco or dip or chewing tobacco. It's generally frowned upon by everybody. Yeah, there's a small little niche class of people who would think that it's sexy, or they would think it's hot, or there's a small group that would. It's in every society. You've got a niche class that likes something. But up until he came along, women didn't smoke. That was disgusting. That was only a man's thing. Why would women do something that vile or disgusting? So, a psychoanalyst is a person who sees what items or actions or what things mean to an individual's psyche, to their very inner being. And the tobacco company, I don't remember if it was the American Tobacco Company or it was something like Philip Morris, but older. And anyhow, They asked, how can we increase our sales of tobacco? How can we increase sales? And Edward Bernays said, well, you're missing out on half of the populace. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, he said, well, females don't smoke, women don't smoke. You're missing out on half of your customer base. Your potential customer base, you're missing out on half of it. So they said, well, how do we get women to smoke? So they had a psychoanalyst tell him what cigarettes meant to women. And he said, well, cigarettes are torches of freedom. They represent man's dominance over woman, because men smoke, women don't. So women secretly want to smoke to show they are equal to men. It makes sense when you think about it. It makes sense. It's like kids in their teen years want to drink to show they're just as cool as adults. They want to show how adult they are. Well, women want to show how tough they are to men to prove they're equal, so they wanted to smoke. So they were called torches of freedom. Well, Edward Bernays, being a genius that he is, deviant and manipulative, but nevertheless it was a smart move. During, I think it was the May Day parade, possibly, during a large parade in New York City, he strategically had reporters standing at a certain street corner. He had reporters ready with cameras in hand at one particular street corner. He also paid several affluent, fairly famous, upstanding women. He paid them each, I don't know if it was $100 or if it was $50. Anyways, he paid them a pretty significant amount of money for the time to publicly light up a cigarette and pose for the cameras. So now you have cameras waiting at a particular street corner, waiting at the ready. You have several women that are very nicely dressed. They're in the parade. They're a public figure now. They're in a parade. They represent some group. They all pull out cigarettes and light up cigarettes at the same time. So now there's all of these newspapers who take pictures of the event and broadcast it across the nation with the headline, "Women Light Torches of Freedom." So women smoking was painted in a positive light to the American public by people in a parade. So obviously they're upstanding figures. They're in a parade. They're being shown as representatives of something good. It's a positive light. They're in a parade. They're not being paraded in handcuffs. They're voluntarily in a parade in front of millions of sets of eyes. They light up cigarettes with the headline, "Torches of Freedom." Now smoking is seen in a positive light by the female populace in the United States. That one small move, seen by enough people simultaneously, implants a positivity aspect to it, which erases all of the social degradation that people had in their minds. It takes down those walls and now opens it up to the populace. So with one small payment of, let's just say, $20,000, I don't know how much it truly was, you'll have to look, I'm not Google, but with one small action, unknown by the populace, the people's very perception of something was changed. If I change your perception of something, I can change whether you think it should be legal or illegal. If I change how you see something, I can make what you see change. It's basically like a magic trick. If I show you some kid just having fun pouring hydrogen peroxide on ants and just giggling as they bubble and die because hydrogen peroxide destroys ants, it just completely burns out their respiratory system. So if I see a video of some kid pouring hydrogen peroxide on ants and he's having glee and killing, that looks bad. But if I do the exact same thing and I put a picnic in the background with a family that's angry because ants are destroying their picnic and their happy family time is being disrupted, I can change how you see that act of killing the ants. It instantly goes from, that's horrible, he's taking glee in killing something, to he's eliminating pests, and now it's not a bad thing. I magically changed your opinion of something just by giving you surrounding information without directly telling you anything. That's what TV and all media, whether it's magazines, newspapers, radio, movies, television, hell, even live performances. If I control the information that you're hearing, if I control how it looks, how it portrays things, I control how you see things. I can control your very thoughts and your mind. That's the world we currently live under. And I keep going back to one phrase. I can't even remember who said it right now. Possibly Mark Twain, but I do not know. I'm sorry. Anyways, the phrase is, it's far easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled. So it's easier to trick you than to get you to see you've been tricked. So it's a lot easier to put you under a spell than it is to break that spell. And that's what I'm trying to do to every one of you. I'm trying to break that spell and let you see that it's okay to be you. To be you. The you that lives inside of you, that has thoughts that you don't tell anybody. The you that thinks, you know, I really like cartoons, or I really like this or that, or I kind of like watching women's softball or ballet, or hell, I like watching football. I like watching badminton, or I like comedy, I like horror, I like whatever you like. It's okay to be you. If you want to paint your hair purple and put it in spikes and wear rainbow clothes because you like that, then do it. Don't worry about everybody else's perception of you. That's, I don't know, we've been tricked so badly that in at least my worldview now has been completely shattered because I was so deeply under the spell that a lot of people who took stuff for granted, that that's just movies, or that's just news, or that's just propaganda about something else, blah blah. I believed a lot of it. Hook, line, and sinker, because in my head, they would never let bad people be in charge of that much power. Because it's the United States. The history that I've taught me, or that I've learned, tells me how good and just and right we are. If we're that good and just, and we'd never let bad people in power. I didn't see that those people already got into power, and now they've tricked us all into thinking they're good people. And they're currently trying to trick us into thinking their way. They're trying to talk us out of what we think is bad and talk us into what we think, or talk us out of what we think is good and into what they think is good. It's difficult to explain, and I'm trying. And I think part of what's helping me the most is me talking to all of you and just learning how to actually talk to people. That's something I've never been good at. I had ADD, I had ADHD, I've got social anxiety issues. I tackle everything with comedy, because if I make you laugh, then I know you're not upset, or you're not disgusted, you're laughing. If you're laughing, that's only good. I don't know too many people that laugh when they're mad or laugh when they're sad. A smile is what I try to get from everybody, because I know what a smile means. I know what that is. I don't know what a lot of people's other emotional faces or outputs are. I've never got a good grasp on a lot of emotions except happy. That's the one that I feel most comfortable with. So that's what I try to get out of everybody. I always try to get a smile. I want everybody to like their job. I want people to like me. I want them to think positively. I want good. But yeah, I seem negative sometimes, but that's because I want you to wake up to how much bad there really is. You've been talked out of seeing it as bad. You've been talked right out of it. We all have. So I'm going to work on it some more. I have to get back to work now, or I have to get to work. I haven't been there yet. But I'm going to go to work today. I'm going to do the best I can with what I've got. I'm going to keep working to try to get people to snap out of it. Try to get people to want to make the best thing we can make, so that people are getting the best value for what they buy. I personally don't like the tricking you into buying something. It's the whole the predatory capitalistic mentality. I have a truck that market value says it's worth $2,000. If I clean it up really good, and I tell them I did this, did that, if I tell them that it's one out of a few, hell, if I lie and tell them that some famous person, maybe I can get $3,000 out of it. Now, I don't care that they're spending more money and getting less value. I'm getting my part. I'm getting my money. I don't care that they're losing out. That's the part I don't like. I don't like knowing that it's not as good as it could be, but I'm not going to make it better because that would cost more. It makes no sense to me. I don't know. I'm boring you now. Uncomfortable silences when I'm talking alone don't exactly make for, hey, I'm going to continue to watch this guy. No, I wouldn't sit there and watch some guy bumbling and try to think through his thoughts. It wouldn't exactly be something that's entertaining. So, I'll let you go, because I don't want to bore you. But the last words I'm going to leave with you, I hope will put a smile on your face. Why? Because that's what I do. So I'm going to come up with a word that I just invented, and I'm going to ask you to figure out how I came up with it. Mumblefish tuna. Mumblefish tuna. I don't know why, but that's the word that popped in my head. Mumblefish tuna. What would you think of hearing the phrase mumblefish tuna? I'll leave you with that. You guys have a good day. I love you all. Sorry I bored you. If I didn't, then hey, thanks. I'll keep talking to you. I'll be back. Until next time, I love you guys.